Hey guys, Jenna here with game plan times. We want to move from stage 1 chapter plant to stage 2 of a chapter plant with athletes in our varsity. You guys are doing a fantastic job. We've got a lot of W's to celebrate from this semester, but we have to keep growing. If we don't make this critical transition to stage 2, we're going to stall out, we're going to plateau, we're going to stop growing. And we don't want that. We want to expand God's kingdom. We want to see ourselves challenged and grow. And we want to reach more of the 600 Division I athletes at Monmouth University. Our vision is to see students and coaches transformed by the gospel, to renew collegiate athletics, and to develop world changers. So a little bit about what we got to do. We've got to make this critical transition where instead of just having one group that gathers, I need to commission and send out some of you guys who have been kind of apprentices, up and coming, preparing for leadership. I need to commission you to go and become leaders of new missional team Bible studies. I want you to think for a moment about a teammate of yours that you care about who's far from God. What's it going to take to reach them? What's it going to take for them to hear the gospel and respond? We've been watching a lot of people recommit their lives to Christ, to engage the Bible for the first time ever, and we want to see more of that happen. Right now, we're not reaching very many of the 600 Division I athletes, if you think about it. We've got students from football, men's and women's basketball, women's soccer, the throws team from track and field, and bowling, and maybe like one from here or there. And we're reaching roughly if you want to say 20 to 25 athletes who are actively involved out of 600. How are we going to expand that? The best way is probably not going to be to invite every one of the 600 athletes to try to come on a Monday night, right? So in order to do that, we want to think about what it would look like to get entire teams to show up to a team study instead of trying to get an entire team to show up to a Monday night like a Christian fellowship. And if we start reaching in our teams and on our teams and expanding that way, there's actually the potential for reaching all 600 students who are athletes, as well as club, cheerleading, and beyond, right? And then we can start looking at Greek life, we can start looking at the NARPs, we can start building and growing, but we've got to start with what we've got, where we are. So we're in stage 1. Stage 1, we've been gathering people, we've been casting vision, people are getting on mission, we've done an outreach, we've identified emerging leaders, and we have core gatherings that create a strong missional identity and culture, right? We've done that, stage 1. Now it's launched us to stage 2. So here's what stage 2 could and should look like. In stage 2, core students have identified people and places to engage next and have prayerfully committed to reaching them. So that looks like, hey, I've prayed about reaching my team, and I'm going to commit to reaching my team. That means part of stage 2 will look like that those leaders then launch new missional groups. And while they're doing that, they receive regular training and coaching. Also, leaders are having a defined developing an apprentice. So they've got one person or two people that they are consistently developing to kind of take their role, take their place, or even to go launch out a second or third group. So think about a team that's large, like track and field, football. One person can't really reach the entire team, right? So what's it look like to pick an apprentice that follows you around, intentionally watches what you do, watches how you lead, learns from you, so that they can launch another group. Maybe they take over yours and you go launch the next one, right? Also, leaders are practicing calls to faith, so regularly making invitations to follow Jesus and to commit to Jesus in those missional groups. Some numbers for us: we want to be reaching more students, and so we would look to be growing in our core membership, which is people who show up regularly, who are committed to the vision. So to go from 20 to 25 to more like 30 to 35 members. We want to have 3 to 6 missional team Bible studies or groups or even gigs, so investigating God. So maybe a group that wouldn't necessarily have a team study, but would be hosting something in their locker room for people to come and ask questions. Maybe like a 40-minute deal. So we'd want about 30 to 35 members, 3 to 6 missional Bible studies on their teams launched. Everyone could be studying the same content, so we could actually prepare together. You could utilize one another to prepare your study. And leaders could attend a check-in or training maybe one time a month. More regular contact via cell phone and whatnot, fine, but a face-to-face coaching one time a month, so not a huge commitment. And then you would lead the weekly study with your team, and then you would show up on Monday nights for a bigger vision, for broader teaching, to re-engage with mission, to learn more, to grow deeper as a culture and a fellowship. And then we can start bringing in guest speakers. We don't need to do necessarily tons of prep or planning during that time. We can actually use that time and space to start doing things like worship, guest speakers, tackling interesting topics, right? When the studies are happening on our own teams. And then another thing I think would be involved in stage 2 would be regular prayer meetings. We've got to be praying if we want to see God move. We've got to be praying if we want this thing to last. We can't do anything without God's Spirit, and the power of prayer is important. So, ways to get involved, ways to actually step up in that would be, I think, 3 things. One would be get trained over break. I'm going to host some like Skype, Google Hangout video chats over winter break to start to plan and prepare, and then also to train and coach and get people ready to feel like they're equipped to lead. I'm going to have really individualized plans per person. So if you're interested in doing this, I'm going to help you specifically where you're at and the things that you need to get ready to launch this. We've been trying to kind of launch things in fall starts, but now we're going to take the game plan seriously, and we're going to use the break to launch us for spring semester in January. Other thing would be to come to the AIV retreat. If you are an off-season athlete and you are even remotely invested in athletes in varsity, your attendance at this retreat is going to be mission critical. Super important for both your own spiritual growth, the growth of our fellowship, the potential for evangelistic fruit if you bring a teammate, a chance to go deeper with God and really get filled up and ready to lead, to pour out, and to go and be on mission in the spring, to kind of calibrate yourself, get yourself on track where you know you need to be. And so those are the 3 things. And receive specific training, individualized for you. Come to the AIV retreat, and then let's be a part of these ongoing video chats that are going to happen over winter break for both planning and preparing. I'm sure that you've been excited by watching some of your friends and teammates grow in their faith this semester. I know I have. Watching people really take significant steps to following Jesus, being more invested in their own personal growth, whether that's studying the Bible regularly, praying, making really wise lordship decisions, asking good questions, just showing up on a weekly basis to a Bible study, something that they would never find themselves doing before. I hope that encourages you. Those are like a bunch of big wins for us as a fellowship, and I want to see so much more. And I know it's possible, and I know God wants to use you in that process. There's nothing quite like it when you're a co-laborer with Christ. There's nothing like that joy and obedience in partnering with Him. And so I'm excited for next semester. That's the game plan. That's the big picture vision. And I want you on board. And I know God's going to do some great stuff.